Hi everyone, this is Udadit again from TechSpark, bringing you another session covering data engineering Q&A. And in today's session, we're going to talk about S3, the storage system. And we're going to see how we can create a bucket in S3, how we can upload files, and how does the S3 overall works when it comes to storage and AWS network. So as usual, I'm going to start off with my brief introduction. I have been working in data engineering domain for almost 9 years with various projects and involved in creating data pipelines for several clients. I also train candidates in this field to help them build an interview-ready profile with a comprehensive course covering all the necessary topics of data engineering. So we have gone through the session of what is AWS Cloud and how it works, and how basically it is different from the on-premise system, right? So S3 is a storage system, and it is much similar to the HDFS file system, even though there are some key differences. Like in HDFS, the data used to be stored in blocks, right? There was a predefined block size. It could be like 128 or 256 MB, and based on upon that block size, data will be segmented at different blocks and replicated across the different nodes of the cluster. However, S3 doesn't have the concept of block size, but S3 stores the files as objects. Okay, and replication there. So there is a concept of replication S3, but it's not as same as HDFS. I mean, in HDFS, when the replication happens across the different nodes, you won't see the data is getting replicated or the replica of the same data, right? But under the hood, it happens just to achieve the fault tolerance. Whereas in S3, you can enforce the replication across different regions or within the same region with different availability zones. So let's take a look at the features of S3. So S3 comes up with the buckets and the objects, right? And an object would be the key. So buckets are something that is having a globally unique name, meaning if someone has put up a name, say ABC underscore 123 for one bucket name, and it could be in a different region, but also it cannot be used to create a bucket. I mean, the name cannot be used to create a bucket again in anywhere. Okay, if you have an AWS account, say in a different part of the world, still it won't allow you to create the bucket under the same name. So that's the most important thing about the buckets. Buckets are defined at region level. So there would be, I mean, each and every AWS service is under a different region scope, right? So you would have to pick a region and then you can create whatever service you want. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to communicate between different regions, different regions, so there is a lag. So it's better to use all the services in one single region, so you can use them with ease without any sort of latency. And the last one, which I just mentioned, S3 looks like a global service, but buckets are created in a regions. I mean, even though you would be saying that trying to create a bucket in a different region, but I cannot have the same name that has already been used in a different region altogether. So these are the specifications of the buckets, and it's nothing but like a parent or root directory. Okay, so once you create, you can upload any files, folders, whatever you want under that bucket. But yeah, I mean, everything comes under the bucket. Without a bucket, you cannot simply upload any file at all. Now coming to the objects, so objects have a key, and the key is the full path. That is the S3 URI. S3 URI consists of the bucket name, and when you go to the projects, actually in real world industry projects, they use the bucket name in a way that it consists of the region, and at the end it has this string something like Amazon AWS.com. Okay, if you see at the diagram, so this is how an actual bucket looks like in the projects. But in my case, I won't be putting that much of a nomenclature. I'll be simply putting simple bucket names. Say for example, my bucket, then over there under that bucket. So once the bucket is created, and if I try to upload a file over there, say my file.txt, in that case the S3 URI path of that single file, of that particular file, would be like this: S3 then colon slash slash the bucket name slash the file name which I just uploaded. Now, however, if you want under one bucket, you can create different folders, and in those folders you can upload the file if you want. Okay, so S3 give us that option as well. In that case, your whole S3 URI path will be this my bucket, then my folder one, another folder, then my file.txt. So the key is composed of prefix plus the object name. So one thing you have to remember, that whenever, so say for example that there is a Boto 3 client in Python which allows you to read data from S3. Okay, so over there, if you use the Boto3 client, then you have to mention the bucket and the key. And inside the key, you cannot mention the bucket name. So this is the whole S3 URI path that you got. In that case, your bucket will be my bucket, and the key will be from my folder one till my file.txt, meaning my folder one slash another folder slash my underscore file.txt. So that should be the key, and that's how it basically works. Cumulatively with the bucket and the object name. So this is the basic feature of the S3, that bucket needs to be created, and then over there you can upload any file, folder, whatever, which consists of the key. Now let's coming to different storage classes or different storage classes on S3. So storage classes are applicable to only the data that you're putting in the bucket. Okay, it doesn't work on the bucket level, but it works on the data level. And so what is the utility of storage classes? So if you can see, we have different types of storage classes. One is the S3 standard, then intelligent tiering, that standard IA ends with Glacier, deep archive. And if you just look from left to right, you'll see the cost of it, right? For this one, it is taking like zero point 0.02 for per GB. And if you look at the rightmost, they're taking very less, almost like 0.0009 per GB. So it's like one third of the price that it is giving me in the S3 standard. So different storage classes comes with different cost, and also it comes with different retrieval time. So when I say retrieval time, it means if I want to upload data that I want to access more often than not, in that case I need to pay more. Okay, so that is the reason that those which are having high cost, say S3 standard or intelligent tiering, they are having higher cost, but at the same time they will they will allow you to retrieve the data as and when without any sort of latency. But if you go into the writer part, okay, the Glacier or the Glacier deep archive, so in those cases, even though the cost is very less, but if you look at the retrieval time, it is like minutes or hours, or in some cases for the long term archive data is taking select hours. So which means is basically, if you want to archive some of the data, if you don't want the data to be accessed more often, say there's some historical data just setting in, and you access it, say like every once in a quarter, or every once in say 6 months or 3 months, in those cases probably you don't need to pay that much of cost, right? So you can go for ST Glacier or deep archive. But if there is some data that needs to be reflect in a dashboard or some other BI tool. In those cases, you would need to access the data very frequently, and you have to pay a bit more. So you need to choose something in between the ST standard or intelligent tiering, something like that. So this is how the storage classes work. So based upon what you want to pay, or should I say, based upon how you want to use the data, you would be you would be paying that much of amount, and you have to pick that particular storage class for that matter. Okay, so this is about the storage classes and the buckets and the objects. Now let me just take you to my AWS console. So this is the home page. Okay, so this is how the homepage looks like. So I have shown you in the previous session as well. Uh, this will list, so over here in the recently visited tab, so this will list all the recently visited services that you have gone through. But if you want, so for the first time when you log in, you won't see any recently visited services, right? So in those cases, what you can do, you can simply just tap on it, and then from here you can click on any category. For each and every category, there would be different services listed. For my case, I know S3 is in storage, so if I click on the storage, S3 will come up. Or else, even if you don't know in which category your service comes under, then you can simply just go over here and type it out. So I'll type S3 and I will click on the S3 service. All right, now this will simply list the buckets that you have created or which are under your account. So currently these are the buckets that I have created and used. So these are coming in, and but I want to create a new bucket over here, and then I want to show you how to create a bucket and how to upload files over there. So just click on the create bucket. It's very easy, it's very simple. Just give a bucket name. So I will give it like test bucket, then textbox, right? I will just keep this all as is. I'm gonna enable the versioning and I will show you how it works. Rest I will keep the default ones and I'll click on the create bucket. So your bucket is created now. You can see under the listed buckets, the newly created bucket that I just made, test bucket text box is created, and I have chosen the AP Southeast one. So by default, if I go over here, AP Southeast one has been chosen. So under this region, I have created the bucket. Now let me show you how we can upload any file. So to upload, so currently my bucket is totally empty. So if you go into different tabs over here, this will list all the objects that are under the bucket. So currently there is none. And then there's another tab which is property, which will show you if the bucket versioning is enabled or not, if there are any encryption or say for example, even notification or anything probably you would want to add up. In that case, these will show up, which are not very important at the moment. So I will simply just neglect all this. Then comes the permissions tab. So in the permissions tab, it will highlight all the bucket policies that are attached. So for the moment, I have not attached any bucket policy. If I had, in that case, the JSON formatted policy would come up over here. So let me just show you one bucket which has the policies attached. So let me just go to this one. If I click on the permissions tab, then you could see that there's a JSON format policy listed for my root account. So this is the account ID for which bucket is allowed. Okay. So now let me go back to my newly created bucket and let me just upload any file. Okay. It doesn't have to do with anything. So once you click on the upload, then you have to go to the add files, or you can simply just add another folder as well. I will add folder and that folder will have some files. So let me just go to over here. There's some custom order files and these are like partition files. Let me just click on this one. I'll try to upload this file. Okay, so under this bias status model, so there are two files. So all these files, these two files are being uploaded. Okay, and if you want, I can put some permissions as well, but for the moment I haven't put, or there's some other properties. So over here you can see the storage class, right? So whatever the storage classes which I just showed you, that it has standard, intelligent tiering, standard IA, whatever I want to put. So over here you can see if I try to put standard IA or one zone IA, which would take less amount of cost, but in that case there is a minimum storage duration. So for 30 days my data will be locked, right? I cannot delete it. Simply if I know go for deep Glacier or say Glacier, in that case 90 days or 180 days, obviously I won't keep my data for this much amount of time. Okay, I simply want to load the data and then I'll delete once it is of no use to me. So I will pick the standard one because it doesn't have any sort of restrictions. I can delete the data when I want, and it's not something like there should be one minimum object size. For other cases, you can see there's 128 KB. For Glaciers, there is none, but however, there is the minimum storage duration. So I'll pick the standard one and I'll click on upload. So my folder, okay, now it is succeeded. Two files under one folder. So those are there. So let me go to my bucket again. So now you can see this folder has come up and inside the folder, there are two files which were already there. Okay. So this is basically how you can create a bucket, and inside a bucket, you can upload any object, be it a folder or any files over there. So you did notice that when I was creating the bucket, I enabled something called as the version. So how does that work? So let me just show you. So now there is nothing I want to do with this folder, right? So I can delete this one. Just click on this, just click on the folder check and then click on delete. So in order to delete, you have to type delete again. And these are deleted. Okay, now let me go back to my bucket. It is as usual, it's empty, right? I have deleted the object that was inside over here. So what if I just want to see that what are all the objects that got deleted? So if I click on this toggle this show version, in that case it will show me. So this is the one that which I just created and got deleted. So under this folder you see these two files, or I mean actually S3 considers the objects itself, not the folders. I mean the files, not the folders, as an object. So in these cases, it is showing me that I uploaded this one, these files, and then I delete it. So that is why it has the delete marker. Okay, so this is how you can recognize if any file has been deleted and what was the version ID. So enabling version is also means is if I have a file, say whatever be part 00 this file, okay, and then I upload the same file over again. In that case, what will happen? It will create another version of the same file, but it won't override the file. Okay, I mean technically it would, but you can also see the previous version file. So that is the beauty of the bucket versioning, and you can simply just check whatever the data has been overwritten or whatever the data has been deleted from your bucket, uh, just to keep a track of it. Okay, so that's all about it from the S3 and the bucket versioning. So if you need some more assistance, if you need to know more about all these data engineering tools and services, just reach out to TechSpark. We will help you, give you a clarity of the load of the whole course that what we cover. We mostly cover the Spark, Hadoop, Hive, AWS on the data and all the data engineering tools such as Databricks as well, with not only just theoretical part, but also you'll do live coding with me. And at the end, we will conduct a real world project as well. So that's all about from this session. Just reach out to us in case of any clarification you need. See you on the next session. Bye bye.
Contact us for the free job assistance. We will help you to get the IT job. Please like, subscribe, and share the channel for more regular updates from TechSpoke.